Welcome to Untangled Minds, making sense of the mess one thread at a time. Life with ADHD and autism and other neurodivergent experiences can feel like tangled, chaotic, and overwhelming thoughts and feelings. I'm Deanna, therapist, writer, mom, and intuitive, and I know firsthand what it's like to hold both the struggle and the beauty of these brains. In this podcast, we'll explore the intersections of neurodivergence, attachment, relationships, parenting, and healing. Through story, strategy, and soulful conversation, we'll untangle the shame, celebrate strengths, and create space for authenticity. If you've ever felt like too much, not enough, or simply different, this is your place to breathe, laugh, and belong. Welcome back to episode 6. Plus, we got that one bonus episode from yesterday. But, hi, welcome. If you're still here, thanks for joining me. Today's episode is going to be about avoidant attachment, or the lone wolf. If you've ever said, I'm fine, while building a 10-foot wall, then you might have avoidant attachment. Avoidants are those people who say they want a relationship, but they want to keep it like 20 feet away. That's like, come on now. All right. To parallel episode 1, let's do some 10 quick facts about attachment. So, avoidant attachment forms early, often in environments where emotions were dismissed or needs were not consistently met. This is the nervous system saying closeness equals risk of losing myself. People who are avoidant often value independence, privacy, and control. They say roughly about 25% of adults fall into avoidant attachment. Again, I think it's a little bit higher than that. Avoidants downplay their needs. They say, I don't care, while secretly caring a lot. They cope with overwhelm by shutting down, going quiet, and withdrawing. So, avoidants cope with being overwhelmed by shutting down, going quiet, or withdrawing. To them, this quiet and this space feels like safety. This is where they feel like, okay, I can breathe. Nobody's expecting anything from me. I can do what I need to do. To other people, especially people who are anxious, this feels like rejection. Even people with secure attachment can experience that feeling of rejection. And then they often will confuse self-reliance with strength. So the reality is that intimacy feels so scary to them that they've convinced themselves that if they are just self-reliant, if they don't need to rely on anybody for their feelings, then they are strong. This often is like men, but it can be women too. They're like the manly man. And the thing is that with therapy, with safe partnerships, avoidance can learn that connection doesn't have to equal engulfment. And that's a really big power move, because to get past your avoidant attachment and to become a secure and earned secure attachment, that's you working through these internal voices saying, just because my feelings say that this is overwhelming and scary doesn't mean it actually is. The thing about avoidance is this: they are fantastic at problem solving. They are calm under stress. They hold their perspective, logicalness, while emotions are running high. And that is something that is so attractive, especially to somebody like myself who's anxious. So this is the part of the episode where I want to put a clarifying statement out there. I am an anxious attachment. Well, I'm a disorganized attachment, but I am anxious leaning. And because of that, I am drawn to people who are avoidant, because they are the flip side of me. They are my opposite. And because of that, I have a ton of experiences working with these people in my personal life, in my work life. That also means I have some bias. So sometimes I might get a little quippy. I might throw some daggers out there. Please know this is not because I think there's anything wrong with you. In fact, there's nothing wrong with being avoidant. Being avoidant is no worse than being anxious. It's just different. But I speak nothing but truths. Okay? Okay. So no, I love you if you're avoidant just as much as I love my anxious people or my disorganized people. There is nothing wrong with you. You are a beautiful human being. You just need to heal. So, last time we talked about anxious attachment, the overgivers of the world. Today we're talking about avoidant attachment, the lone wolves of the world. These are people who desperately crave love. Okay, let me say that again. Avoidant attachers desperately crave love. If you are an avoidant attacher and you are looking and reading or listening to this episode, do us both a favor. Stop denying the fact that you want to be loved. There is nothing more frustrating as a not avoidant person than to sit there and listen to somebody who is avoidant tell me that they don't want love. Like, can we just stop with the bullshit? Everybody knows that you want to be loved. You're just fucking scared of it. So what do? They crave love and they find it, but they keep it at arm's length because distance equals safety. So what is the core fear here? Let's define avoidant attachment. The core fear behind avoidant attachment is if I let you too close, I lose myself. People who are avoidant will typically use strategies like staying independent, so not getting into relationships. They might get into a relationship, but they're not honest or vulnerable, or they don't share their needs or their wants or their feelings with their partner, which creates this wall or this boundary. People who are avoidant, their nervous system gets triggered by closeness. So when things feel too intimate, too close, too much, that fight or flight response gets triggered in them. And avoidance, almost always flight. Sometimes they fight, but they almost always run away. When you're avoidant, it's important for you to know your nervous system is basically a pro escape artist, and it is constantly looking for the nearest exit. So how does this tie in? Like, people who experience avoidant attachment often learned that charm and humor are safer than showing pain and vulnerability. They were praised for their independence, and that independence equated their self-worth to self-sufficiency. They learned that surviving meant disappearing and not rocking the boat. Avoidant kids didn't stop needing love. They just stopped expecting anyone to show up with it. So this came from households and situations where they were taught that emotions and vulnerability were a problem, and they had probably emotionally unavailable parents who could not model or mirror for them what it was like and is like to live within and feel your emotions. So instead of explaining and feeling their emotions, they just shut them down and hide them and bury them deep inside of themselves so that they don't cause problems for other people, and so that they're not vulnerable and they don't have to share that part of themselves. They just pretend like it doesn't exist. The reality is you're a human being who has emotions, thoughts, and feelings, and those things exist whether you deny them or not. And just because people in your life didn't show up for you before doesn't mean that the next person won't. All right, here's my favorite part of these episodes, talking about the nervous system hijacks and the responses, avoidant edition. So, the first and most common, the ghost reflex. This is when things get too intense. Say the person you're interested indicates that they like you. Like you. And all of a sudden you're like, oh, yeah, that's a little intense. So what happens? You vanish. You disappear, you ghost. And then you show up 4 days later acting like nothing happened. Like it wasn't weird that you were like, oh my gosh, this person likes me, gone. And then when you come back, we're not going to talk about it. We're not going to acknowledge the ghost in the room. We're not going to talk about how, you kind of just like up and disappeared. Because why would we do that? Because that is vulnerability. That is intimacy. That is intensity. We don't do that. Then there's the intimacy allergy. Oh no, my partner wants to talk about feelings, so that means I need to shut down. My body gets tense, my heart starts to race, my brain starts to scream, abort mission, run away. Feelings are scary. If she tells you her feelings, then she wants you to tell her your feelings, and I can't do that. That's too scary. So shut it down. Abort mission. People who are avoidant often will encounter these feelings of things getting real, getting intense. So instead of dealing with the intensity and the uncomfortableness of not knowing how to handle reality, they'll pick fights. They'll cause problems to validate their internal need to say, see, I knew it was too good to be true. Why are you chewing that like that? Why didn't you turn back there? All of these stupid little nitpicky fights for no reason other than for their brain to be like, see, I knew it was too good to be true. Then there's the, oh, sorry, I'm busy defense. So this is when closeness creeps into a friendship or a relationship, and that person who's avoidant suddenly has no room on their calendar to see you. Oh, I'm sorry. I have my kids. I'm sorry. I have to go to the gym. I have to work. I had a prearranged thing. I'm doing something. I'm just too tired. Anything but intimacy. But they'll breadcrumb you. They'll like slide a little bit of intimacy across the table, and they'll be like, look, this is how I feel. Now I'm going to run away. And you get hooked. I like this closeness. How do I get that out of them again? The reality is you can't. They have to be willing to do it. But, Then there's the daydreaming. People who are anxious daydream about people showing up for them the way they want to be showed up for. People who are avoidant daydream about how they're going to start their life over when everything falls apart. Down to the which city to move to, how to become a monk, or which court order do I need to file to make sure that you can never find me again. This is often triggered by like fighting or conflict, because fighting and conflict triggers that, oh no, they're going to leave me because I'm not perfect inner monologue. And the crux of avoidant attachment is feeling like they're not good enough if they're not perfect. But their version of perfection stems from this illogical thought that to be perfect, they need to have no emotions. They need to have no issues. They need to not be emotional or overwhelming or whatever. So everything that triggers them is because they feel like they can't be that. You want to talk about emotions? Oh, I can't do that. I'm a failure. You want to talk about the future? That's too scary. You might leave me. I'm a failure. I can't give you everything that you want because I'm not good enough. I'm a failure. I don't know how to handle my emotions, so I run away from them. I'm a failure. When these individuals get triggered, their chest often feels tight, like somebody's pressing down on them. They feel like they need to run away, doom scroll, shut down, anything but engage in these feelings. That also means anything but engage with the people that they care about. Oftentimes, they clench their jaws, their shoulders are tense, their breathing is shallow, and their body reaffirms for them that they're safe when they're alone by releasing all of these things. It's funny to me. If you have avoidant attachment, your partner just wants to cuddle you. But it's like your nervous system is acting like they're trying to suffocate you with a weighted blanket. It's not that you don't feel, it's that your feelings feel like quicksand and you don't know how to do it. So instead of having somebody there to do it with you and help you through it, if you asked for help to experience your feelings and feel them so you could let them go, that means you'd be a failure, right? Wrong. Wrong. Wrong, wrong, wrong. Change that internal monologue. There's nothing wrong with feelings. There is nothing wrong with feelings. You are not less than because you have them. You are not broken because you experience them. You are not broken because you run away from them. You just need to heal. You need to know that it's okay to experience them and to let people show up for you. So how do you tell who's avoidant in your life? Well, in your friendships, this is the person who disappears when they get stressed out and then they come back and pretend like nothing happened. You had plans and then they didn't show, and then 5 days later, they're like, hey, how's it going? Welcome to avoidant attachment. In the workplace, it's the people who excel at independent projects. They hate being micromanaged. And in relationships, it's that person who gets so close to you and then pulls away and you don't understand why. Their version of flirting is that making sure you know that they might text you back eventually. But not until they feel like they've had enough space to feel safe. Again, like, these people are independent, they're calm under pressure, they're rational, they're logical. They have a great sense of providing and stability in what that looks like for them. But it also means they're often emotionally distant and they have difficulty opening up, which means they're prone to stonewalling, which also means that they're prone to making you feel like they actually don't want to be with you or around you. They're not cold. They're just terrified that closeness is going to cost them the freedom that they so desperately think they need. I had a client who was talking to me about this girl, this friendship, dating, I don't know. They don't have labels. And he really likes her. I've managed to get that out of him. We laugh and talk a lot about attachment and his attachment style. And he tells me, she is amazing. He goes over all of the things he likes about her. He says, and we have such a good time together, and then all of a sudden, I have to go. So it's like, he tells me about how they have these great days. They will hang out and do fun things. And the second he starts to feel or have thoughts about, God, I like this girl, he freaks out. And he'll just up and leave. He'll be like, oh, I need to go now. And, it's caused problems with them because she's sitting here wondering, he'll tell me that, they have conversations and her statements are always like, I don't understand why as soon as we start to do well, you panic, why you run away. I'm not asking anything of you. I'm not asking you to do anything or to say anything or be different than who you are. I like you for who you are. So why does that trigger you to run away? Why does that trigger you to need to hide? Who you are is perfect as it is. And he just can't figure out why he does this. And we've talked about childhood trauma. We've talked about all the different things. And I've explained attachment to him over and over again. And now we've gotten to this point where we laugh about it. But he still struggles with growing past these moments. He tells me when we talk about it, but if I give in, if I like her, if I acknowledge these feelings, that means she can hurt me. And I find it so interesting that he cannot see the perspective of, but she also might not. He was telling me a story about how they had a great day, and at the very end of the day, he panicked and he withdrew and he got avoidant and weird. And then when they saw each other the next day, she was distant. And he himself panicked. And he didn't understand why he panicked. He's like, I don't need this girl. I don't want this girl. I like her, but I don't want anything more than that. Why am I freaking out because she's acting different? And we talked and I said, you're freaking out because she's about her acting different because it matters to you. And you don't want to admit that. Like, you don't want to admit she means something to you because that means you're already in it and that means you can get hurt. And your biggest fear is being hurt. It's being abandoned, ironically. Anxious and avoidant, they're not that different. They both fear being abandoned. They just handle it differently. Anxious people fear being abandoned and they cling. And avoidant people just say, I just won't let you close enough so that you can't hurt me. At one time, I had my avoidant partner tell me that they love me and then promptly refuse to say it again or admit it ever again. That was fun. So, if you're sitting there asking yourself, what kind of attachment do I have? Am I avoidant? Am I secure? Am I anxious? Am I disorganized? Blah, 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 blah. Here's what you can ask yourself. When somebody leans in, do I lean back and shut them down? Do I avoid needing people because I truly don't need them or because I'm afraid that if I do, they'll let me down or they'll leave me? I want you to start doing one small thing. Whether it be micro vulnerability, like sharing one small truth instead of going silent. Reframing your brain, going from needing people as weakness to needing people as not weakness. It's wiring yourself. We are humans who are built for connection. You need to stop framing that connection as weakness. And maybe the next time you feel that need to run away, just sit your ass down and stay. And start fucking talking. And say, I'm feeling overwhelmed. This scares me because I like it. And if I like it and I have it, it could be taken away. And if it's taken away, that scares me because it means I'm going to hurt again. And I don't know how to survive the hurt. You're not less than, my friends. You are not broken. You are a whole-ass human who is valuable and worth it. And there are people in this world who want nothing more than you just as you are, avoidant attachment and all. Stop self-sabotaging. Stop self-abandoning. And just let yourself be loved. If you saw yourself in this episode, don't worry. I'm not going to hug you without a warning. Next time, though, we're going to dig into disorganized attachment. These are the push-pullers who want love and run from it at the same time. They're like the rom-com chaos of attachment styles. This is where I like to live. The land of disorganized attachment. Because who doesn't want to be anxious and also avoidant? Who doesn't want to cling, but then when you start to get what you want, actually run away? Because it doesn't sound like so much fun, right? Until later, I want you to remember the goal of this world is to unmask, untangle, and shine your weird into the world like a beacon. Until next time, my friends, stay weird.